All right, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwi. Thank you for tuning in and staying with KBC Channel 1. We shift gears now and talk about transformative leaders, and the topic we are going to delve into this morning is about project management and why it has become a very sought after skill within the job market today. George Asamani, who is the Managing Director of Project Management Institute in the Sub-Saharan Africa, is joining me live from South Africa via Zoom to help me in this conversation. George, if you can hear me, welcome to Good Morning Kenya, and how are you doing this morning?
Your volume is extremely low. Is there any way you can increase the sound? But good morning. I'm happy to be here.
About project management, and the first thing I would want to do is to lay a foundation for this conversation. What is project management? What are the rudimentaries of it? And also, what is the main purpose of project management? That is the basis I want us to start with now.
Thanks for the question. Again, if you could increase your volume, that would be great. But I think I caught what you said. But first of all, thanks for having me on the show, and good morning to your viewers. Good morning, Kenya. For context, PMI is the global body behind the profession of project management. Project management, of course, as you know, is the skill or the discipline of getting things done and getting things done well. It's about how do you get from A to Z in the best way possible. So, for example, if you're going to build a bridge or build an expressway like you've done recently in Kenya, or build an app or a piece of software, or transition from fossil fuels to clean energy like we're seeing across the world right now, or even executing a national plan, you need the right skills and the right skill set to get that done. You need a specific set of skills that ensure that the thing you are setting out to do, or your endeavor, that will not only be completed on time or within budget or within scope, but you want to make sure that your endeavor creates value that's worth the effort and expense. So essentially, project management is the art and science of taking a vision or plan and making it a sustainable reality. And the way we do that at PMI is that we help by providing the latest global standards, the latest training and certification, which includes training on technical skills, as well as people skills and business acumen. These are all skills that are part of project management. And also at PMI, we are home to the largest community of project managers in the world. We're present in almost every country, including in Kenya, where we have the PMI Kenya chapter that's led by the chapter president, Maureen Ochan. So to your question about project management and how it's in demand and sought after, I'd add, especially in Africa, the short answer is because there's a lot to be done and we need it to be done well. So for example, in many countries across Africa, they're investing heavily in infrastructure, in energy, and many other sectors. So for instance, when you talk about infrastructure, there's road infrastructure, rail, sea. These are all critical infrastructure that's needed to continue to move the continent forward. And these needs are only increasing as Africa grows. So the need for capable project managers to lead, that is really, really increasing. So the demand is increasing. You also have several countries that have developed their own, or they're actually in the middle of developing their own energy transition plans. You know, how do they move from the dependency on fossil fuels to cleaner, sustainable energy? Again, the transition can only happen through good project management. And actually, let me take a step back. If I take a step back and look at Agenda 2063 as an example, these are at least 15, 16, 17 mega projects that need to be executed for us to see significant growth in Africa. Some of these projects are extremely ambitious, like the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, but it's meant to deliver a lot of value. For example, the saving of $5 billion in transaction amounts. So all these initiatives, these are projects that countries invest in to spur growth. And the demand for this skill of strategic planning and skilled execution, the demand is growing. So project management skills are really crucial for handling the complexity that comes with this. And it's not only at the country level, even companies. Companies will have their own vision or their own strategy, and they need to make sure that they're competitive. And project management skills are the skills that help companies to implement some of the strategic objectives that they need to remain competitive. Because if they don't, they'll stay behind. So the point is that when we have a need for growth or the need for change or the need to remain competitive, whether it's a country or an organization, it's effective project management that helps us to respond most effectively. And this demand is growing more and more, especially, as I said, in Africa.
If it has become one of the most sought after skills in the job market today, it means there is a gap in terms of project management talent. So how do we bridge this gap to ensure that there is enough talent to deal with the gap that is there?
The role of PMI. To be able to build that gap. So when I wake up every morning, when my team, the PMI Africa team wakes up every morning, when the chapter presidents and the chapter leaders across all of Africa wake up every morning, that's really our purpose, to be able to bridge the gap in this key skill that we need on the continent. This skill that will enable us to execute on our, whether it's Africa plan or country plan, or even your own personal plan. And so we do that in several ways. We have standards that we share with our community. These standards talk about what is best practice project management. There's certifications. Individuals around the continent can be certified on our certifications. Certifications like the PMP, which is the Project Management Professional, or CAPM, Certified Associate in Project Management. These are gold standard professional certifications that mean that anybody who is certified has the ability, the capability to execute a project on a global scale. And then, of course, you have the communities. I mentioned the chapter. The chapter is essentially the community of project management professionals in every country. And they have the passion and the purpose to bridge that gap by creating events, creating networking opportunities, creating learning opportunities for people within the country to learn the skill of project management. And so these are some of the several ways that we as PMI are working towards bridging the gap.
There is also the aspect of sustainability and digital platform expertise. Why have they become exceedingly important for project professionals who are looking to get or to start a career within this field?
So I heard two things there. I heard sustainability and I heard digital platforms. So from a sustainability perspective, of course, right now and for some time now, actually, we as a global community, as the world, we've been focusing on, okay, how do we live sustainability? How do we take care of the planet whilst we're living in the planet? And for many decades, a lot of the way that we worked as a society actually had an impact or a negative impact on our world. And so now the thinking is, okay, how do we live more sustainably? How do we execute projects in a sustainable fashion? How do we make sure that when we are executing, for example, an infrastructure project or an energy transition project, that we consider the environmental factors and build them into the project plan as much as possible? How do we make sure that we consider some of the social impact that happens because of large-scale projects? So we as PMI and as a project management community, we have a responsibility to sustainable execution within projects and the wider world as well. And so again, we as PMI, we provide some of the learning, some of the latest ways and tools to be able to run projects sustainability. So that's the part on sustainability. In terms of digital or technology, one of the biggest developments that we've seen in the last, say, 18 months is that of artificial intelligence. We ran a survey earlier this year, which showed that a lot of people who are responsible for execution, or a lot of project managers, realize that artificial intelligence actually can perform some of the less strategic or lesser strategic tasks in their work, like in many industries. Artificial intelligence can actually perform some of the repetitive tasks. But also through that survey, we saw that about 20%, only 20% of project managers were already using artificial intelligence to help them in their work. So quickly, as PMI, we launched PMI Infinity. PMI Infinity is the world's leading AI tool for project managers, so that project managers can actually get ahead of the curve and use AI in their work. So rather than AI inadvertently or unbeknownst to them taking over their work, project managers can get on the head of the digital curve, can lead the way in terms of using digital, specifically artificial intelligence, to run projects in their work. So those are two developments that we're seeing and that we've led within the space: sustainability and digital as well.
Figures within project management indicate that by 2030, the world economy will need more than 25 million project managers, which means there'll be an uptick of around 2.3 million every year. Now, is this achievable?
Well, it has to be. Whether it's achievable, it's a critical goal. It's critical. And if you go back to the point of project management, it's about helping regions or governments or countries to achieve their objectives. So what does it mean if we in Africa do not have the number or the quality of project managers that we need? What it means is that we will not be able to achieve our regional goals, which is what we do not want. We need and we want to be able execute on the Africa we want. And in order to do that, we need to have the right people executing. We have key people in place who have developed and are developing strategies. We have the right people in place who are sourcing, funding continent and countries forward. What we need is also the right people in place to execute on those plans. So in terms of the gap you mentioned, yes, it's a gap, not only in Africa, and again, we as PMI, we're filling that gap by helping to provide the capacity building everybody needs in order to have the right project managers leading on the projects to make Africa successful.
Organizations will have to adapt to learning initiative for the purposes of upskilling, and so that they can equip employees with appropriate project management skills, and also seek partnerships within the same aspect of upskilling.
So I didn't quite say that again, please.
I'm saying, does that mean to meet this gap, organizations will also have to adapt to new learning initiatives for their employees to help them in upskilling their project management skills, and also seek partnership within this field of project management in terms of seeking these learning initiatives?
Absolutely, absolutely. Employers, specifically HR departments, I think, typically how the world recruits, we look at, okay, does this have a degree? And that's been really the primary measure. Of course, it depends on the field. And fields like, if you're an accountant or a lawyer, when you're being recruited, you're also tested to see if you are, if you have an accounting qualification, or if you've been successful at the bar. So in the same way that you hire a certified or lawyer who approve their capability to manage finance or legal affairs, they've done that by adhering to local and global standards and certifications. You should also hire certified people or certified project managers when you consider or when you're considering how you will entrust, or who you will entrust to make your vision or reality. So basically, when organizations are recruiting, as I mentioned, typically we look for certified people for certain roles and not so much for other roles. What we're saying is that actually for roles such as project managers, you should also look for certified people. Of course, degrees are important because they show an individual's commitment to learning and taking on a particular path. The benefit with certification is that certification complements that. Certification, for instance, when we're talking about project management and the PMP or the CAPM, this is the gold standard or the world-class, the world standard in project management skills for a country or a company. It's also certification is also very appropriate for today because curriculum is continuously updated compared to something like traditional ways of recruitment where we look at a degree. Degree could have been done 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, which is valuable. However, with certification, the exams themselves, especially if you look at PMI's PMP or CAPM or other PMI certifications, those are renewed every 2 or 3 years. Those exams themselves are renewed every 2 or 3 years. So they're very appropriate for today. In addition to the exams themselves being updated, the individuals or the candidates who have those certifications, they have to renew those certifications every three years. In some cases, it's 4 years. But they also need to continuously stay updated. And so the benefit of certification complementing other ways of recruiting and hiring is very, very clear. In addition to that, certifications are, for instance, the PMP, they're global and local in nature. So what that means is, for example, what we have at PMI is that every time we're renewing our certifications, by the time we're renewing it, we would have done research all across the continent, including in Africa, to see, okay, what are the latest trends, what are the latest challenges, and how do we build that into the exams, or how do we build that into the certifications? So they are also global. So whereas in some places you go to a university and that university only has a local presence, by getting a global certification, your opportunities to the global environment by having a PMP certification.
Of course, things like blockchain and AI and matters to do with sustainability have come, and remote works have come to impact the job market in a way, and I would like to know how that has panned out, especially within the project management field, given that the world now is revolving or is witnessing businesses adopting projects as a component for business completion, and also the need for the uptake of more project managers. This is in line with what we have just talked about in terms of meeting the gap. But now the aspect of blockchain, AI, and remote work, how has that impacted project management field so far, especially comparing it within the last decade?
Sure. Okay. So let me just focus on remote work. So when it comes to remote work, we all know when the pandemic hit, all of us were forced to work remotely. But I think that proved the point, and I think it's safe to say, and I think everybody will agree that actually now remote work is a lot more normal. And according to the World Economic Forum, actually remote jobs are going to grow 25% by 2030 at least. And so remote work is in demand, and it's growing, and it's normal for many of us. Of course, it depends on your sector. You know, if you're in digital or technology, you talked about working in blockchain. You know, technology is an easy sector to work remotely. You can work in your bedroom and you're working for a big company. That's completely different from if you're working for a mining company or some large infrastructure company where you have to be on site and you have to see the physical thing that you're building. But even in those fields, there's a gradual move to some kind of remote working. So for instance, I know that in some environments, you have actually people flying drones on mining sites, for instance. So even in heavy infrastructure fields, remote working has been moving in gradually. So to your question, and I'll add, where's the opportunity? For me, the opportunity is in where you have a large group of skilled and able people who can fulfill a need from wherever they are. That's really, for me, where remote working is going and where it's relevant for us and where we could take an advantage, right? And what I mean by that, where do we see a large group of people? It's in Africa. By the end of the next decade, Africa's workforce is going to reach over 1.1 billion, making it the largest labor force globally. What is the need that has to be fulfilled if we're talking about opportunity? The need is that actually the world's economies are facing an aging population. Essentially, whilst the rest of the world is getting older and older, Africa's population remains young and is growing in size. So Africa has the potential actually to serve the rest of the world. But do we have the skills we need to fulfill this? And for me, I think that's the question. The question is, with this opportunity in front of us, do we have the skills necessary to serve the rest of the world? And really, this depends on how well we can equip ourselves, especially equipping the youth. So back to the point, remote working is here to stay, it's growing. What can we do about it, or what are we doing about it? What's the opportunity? The opportunity is for Africa actually to lead in remote working and to serve the rest of the world, but we can only do that if we have the skills.
We talk about project management skills. Are there key or essential soft skills that anyone who is aspiring to get into project management must have?
Soft skills. So soft skills are skills like empathy, leadership, that sort of thing, relationship building. So the human skills, the ability for you to connect with your fellow human being, to help them or to influence them. Skills like stakeholder management. These are critical skills in project management. And these are skills that you can learn. So if you want to go into project management and for some reason or other, you don't have all of these skills are it's possible to learn. Of course, some of us are more inclined to soft skills than other people. And in the same way, some of us are more inclined to technical skills than other people. But both of these skills can be learned. And again, this is why we at PMI, we are very, very intentional about highlighting the different skills that you need to succeed. Of course, you have the technical project management skills. You also have the soft skills, or what we call power skills, the leadership, empathy, stakeholder management. Those are very, very critical. But then you also have skills like business acumen. And the business acumen is really understanding the bigger picture, understanding the context as to why. Why is my company investing in digital transformation, for example? As a project manager, it makes sense for you to understand why your organization or why your leaders or why you yourselves should be moving in a certain direction, because it makes you more efficient and more effective at your work. But back to the question, yes, soft skills are important and they can be learned. And this is some of the learning that we provide as PMI.
Of this conversation, I'd like you to tell us from your perspective, what is the future of project management as a field?
Well, the future of project management as a field, really, it continues to be maximizing project success to elevate our world, right? So what is project success? Whatever project success means in the future or whatever point in time we're looking at, that is what project management will be. Right now, if we look at what is project success in Africa, looking at where Africa is right now, project success in Africa is about looking at, okay, what are the key projects that governments need in order to reach their development goals? What are the key projects that companies need in order to reach their strategic goals? And what project management skills are needed to make that successful? Right now, the project management skills that everybody's talking about is hybrid project management, agile project management, and in some cases, waterfall. So it just depends on where we are at what moment in time. Of course, also the ability, we talked about it earlier, for executing projects in a sustainable manner and also being able to leverage technology like AI. Who knows, in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, project management will likely be focusing on some other tool or technology or way of working for the future. But ultimately, project management is and will continue to be about maximizing project success, whatever time period we're talking about, so that we can move the world forward.
Thank you so much for making time to speak to us here on Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks to the viewers.
You too.
Thank you.
That is George Asamani, who is the project or the managing director of Project Management Institute in the Sub-Saharan Africa, joining us live from South Africa on Zoom. This is where we cap that conversation. Good Morning Kenya continues shortly. Don't go too far. My name is Mike Mbigwe. Stay with us.